Transformation Symphony Station Accessibility Improvements public meeting. We're going to wait a couple minutes to let people sign on. Sometimes takes a minute or so. So please bear with us while we wait. Good evening and welcome to the meeting. We're just going to wait one more minute to allow people to sign on. Thank you for your patience. Well, good evening. My name is Nancy Farrell and I'm part of the Green Line Transformation team, and I'm here to welcome you this evening for the 100% design plan meeting for the Symphony Station Accessibility Improvements Project. Before we get started, we'll go to the next slide and I can show you how you can participate in all of the elements of the meeting. First of all, we do have Katie and Sharon as our ASL interpreters this evening. Thank you, ladies, for helping us out. We have Heidi doing live transcription. If you go to the bottom of the screen and you'd like to see the closed captioning, please click that now, CC for closed captioning. So you know how to use a Q&A button, I presume, to put in a question or comment. When we get to the end of the presentation, you're welcome to use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak your question or comment verbally. Wait for us to unmute you, and then we will mute you again after we have had our conversation. If you have joined by phone, you may raise your hand by pressing the star button and then 9. So it would be *9, and then we will see that your hand is raised. Again, best if you hold your questions and comments till the end of the meeting. I think this is a pretty interesting and quite beautiful presentation. So I'm gonna welcome you along the journey with me. We do start our meetings with a safety moment through the MBTA, and we will go to that now. As the pandemic continues to impact all of us, we like to focus on safety, and we like to encourage you to take appropriate actions to protect yourselves and each other. Wear a mask or a face covering, wash your hands, keep your distance from others, don't share food, drink, or utensils, and stay home if you are sick. We encourage everyone who is eligible to get the vaccine as soon as possible. At the T, we take these safety precautions very seriously for our riders. Stay vigilant and stay safe, everyone. Our agenda this evening will follow this general outline. We'll start with an introduction to Green Line Transformation Program so you can understand it, and then move into a brief review of the Symphony Station project background and timeline. Next, we'll share the key design elements and considerations for the project, and then we'll wrap up with our next steps and closing comments. Also, because we know not everyone can make a meeting at this time, we want to make sure the information is shared broadly and is accessible to riders, neighbors, and the community. So this presentation will also be being recorded and will be available online at mbta.com/GLT. With that, I'd like to introduce Angel Peña, who's Chief of the Green Line Transformation Program for the MBTA, who will kick off the presentation. Angel?
On behalf of the entire Green Line Transformation team, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm here with Desiree Patrice, Ben Friesen, and Andres Achuri from the GLT senior staff and our project design team. And like Nancy said, we're very excited to share with you the 100% design plans for upgrading and modernizing Symphony Station to make it fully accessible. The Symphony Station project will not only improve accessibility and safety for all riders, but will also improve the overall quality of service. From our engagement with stakeholders throughout the design process, we know the neighbors and community members around Symphony Station are eager to see this project executed. So before we get started with the project design, I would like to take a few minutes to highlight how the Symphony Station Accessibility Improvements Project advances the goals of the Green Line transformation. Safety and state of good repair, accessibility, legacy car replacement, and increased capacity are the 4 key elements of the holistic objectives of the program. So you may be asking yourself where we are with each of these levels that I'm describing. It is important to note that the levels advance concurrently and are interrelated. So let me give you an example. Much of the state of good repair and accessibility work that we are advancing right now will lay the foundation for a unified fleet of vehicles and increased capacity in the future. So this level 0 is critical to safety and reliability for riders today and the years to come. So through our accelerated approach, we have delivered major improvements across all Green Line branches over the last 2 years. Some of those is that we have been able to renew 10 miles of track, which represents 20% of the entire Green Line system. We also have upgraded 18 intersections, replaced 20 units of special track work, and completed the Fenway Portal project to improve the resiliency on the D branch. So there's a lot of work in a short time frame. And these upgrades make the system safer, provides a smoother ride, and increase accessibility for pedestrians, cyclists, and riders of all abilities. But there's much more. Beyond these state of good repair investments, we are focused today on making the system fully accessible. Over the next 5 years, what you see is we're making more than 20 Green Line stations accessible. That includes Symphony Station. Before I get you there, first, let me tell you some of those. We have accelerated construction on the B branch consolidation, for example, by using the full access closure earlier this year. And now we are on track to open 2 new fully accessible stations by the end of this year, way months ahead of schedule. At the same time, we're now working with the town of Brookline to reopen the new accessible Brookline Hill Station this winter as well. So we're working on many also accessible designs for more to come. Some of that is Newton Highlands, Hines, and the 4 remaining inaccessible stations on the D branch, which are Beaconsfield, Chestnut Hill, Elliott, and Wapping, making the D branch the first fully accessible Green Line branch. So that's very exciting to us. And we have many other exciting projects going on, but today we're here to discuss the fully funded Symphony Station. So let's learn more about it with the team.
Symphony Station is the last underground station before the E branch transitions to surface level and sits below the busy intersection of Massachusetts Avenue and Huntington Ave in Boston. The station was constructed in the 1940s, and the station's platform are separated by the Huntington Ave underpass. The station currently lacks 2 major elements of an accessible step-free journey: elevator access and raised platforms for accessible boarding. The station has 6 narrow staircases leading from the street level. These stairs are a hindrance for all riders and specifically impact senior citizens living at the Symphony Towers, who must navigate a series of ramps and staircases before entering the platform. Upon reaching the platform, riders must step up into the train. The platforms are too low to support the ramps that deploy from our Type 8 and Type 9 trolleys. In addition, The station lacks emergency egress. There are no functioning restrooms at either platform. The architectural finishes, lighting, ventilation, security, and safety systems also need to be upgraded. The new station design is remedying many of these flaws and improve other aspects of the rider's experience in one of the busiest stations of the Green Line.
Since 2017, the MBTA has continually engaged with stakeholders to reach design milestones of 30, 75, and 100%. As a result of these efforts, the new station for the 4 new elevators, raised platforms, improved stairways, new areas of refuge, or what is referred to as the area of safety, new accessible restrooms, and other additional station upgrades. At surface level, the new head houses for the elevators will connect all 4 corners of the intersection to the platform level. Each of the 4 new elevators, 2 on the north side and 2 on the south side of the Tower Plaza, functions independently within their own hoistways and machine rooms. This means if one elevator is out of service for maintenance or repair, the other 3 are not affected. The elevators will be on call, meaning riders will need to push the button to call the elevator by selecting an up or down. Each floor button will light up when pressed. Elevator buttons will be constantly backlit. The elevators will be constructed in well-lit areas within the general circulation of the station. Buttons will be placed inside and outside of the elevator cab in compliance with the ADA guidelines with wider braille plates. With stakeholders' feedback from the 75% design, the head house renderings are updated to better represent the final construction and its relationship to the surrounding area. The head houses are constructed of glass for visibility through the shafts and minimize the impacts to the surrounding businesses. The pathways between the head houses and the adjacent buildings provide at least 6 feet, 8 inches of clearance, and all traveling surfaces around the head houses and plaza will be concrete with the exception of the area between the new outbound emergency egress stair and the horticultural hall. This area is privately owned and will be restored to the existing condition by installing wire-cut brick pavers after the head house is constructed. We will also be relocating the signal box on Mass Avenue to Huntington to reduce the congestion on the sidewalks. We have also coordinated with the Historical Commission to ensure the design does not impact the historical nature of the surrounding buildings. The 2 3-stop elevators shown in the rendering establish direct connections to the entrance level of the Symphony Towers, east and west, to better facilitate the travel by residents. The current lower brick levels of both Symphony Tower plazas will be replaced with concrete, and there will be 2 new accessible ramps to the lower plaza. Ownership of both plazas will not change with the redesign. We will also install the new bike racks outside each head house for rider convenience. The design also incorporates head houses for stairwells that provide protection from inclement weather. Along with our partners at the City of Boston, we'll also ensure that all accessible paths remain clear of snow to allow access to the station. Elevators and head houses will be protected from the roadway by removable bollards. The bollards will be located along the driveway next to the Christian Science Center, protecting those exiting the emergency egress. Bollards will also be used to maintain clearance between the sidewalk and the roadway with existing bike lanes along Mass Ave. The design of the station will not preclude future roadway or bike lane redesign by the city of Boston.
So let's now look at the path of travel once the new elevators are installed and the station is reopened. First, the presence of an elevator head house on each corner of the intersection, each with a large T logo, will make it very clear to pedestrians in the Arts District where the T station is. However, know that the tracks will remain separated underground with no mezzanine due to the presence of the Huntington underpass for cars and trucks as shown in the middle. You may have to cross the street to access the correct elevator using the flat, signalized pedestrian crosswalk across Huntington Ave. The distance to cross from one elevator at street level to the opposite elevator is about 170 feet in total. After taking the elevator down from the surface to the lobby, it's about 30 feet to the fare gates along a flat, level surface, and then an additional 25 feet to the station platform. At the platform, customers may use the deployable ramps from the arriving trolleys to complete their step-free journey. Here's another view of the inbound lobby, right next to the fare gates. As stated earlier, the elevators are about 30 feet from the entrance to the large accessible fare gates. In coordination with the agency-wide fare transformation program, an updated fare gate system will be implemented post-construction. We're also working with the MBTA's Customer Technology, CTD, department to pilot the pre-fare screens, real-time dedicated screens located in the station lobby. The station will have two entrances with new wayfinding, including Braille signage that will be clear and easy to locate throughout the station. New station amenities will also include upgraded lighting, improved interior finishes, countdown clocks, and a new public address system. Placing artwork throughout the station is also under consideration. Renovated stairways and a new emergency exit stairs will be marked with high contrast for improved visibility and safety. We view this project as not only an accessibility upgrade, but an entire remodeling of the interior space of the station. So now let's take a look at the entrances and the platforms. The platforms will be more than 225 feet long, which is enough to support longer trains in the future. The entirety of the length will be lined with yellow tactile warning strips. In the event of an emergency, a fully loaded train could safely be unloaded and dispersed, with passengers in the area using the area of refuge and emergency egress stairs. Accessible ADA restrooms will be equipped with push-button doors, providing hands-free access. As a safety measure, individuals needing to access these restrooms will need to contact the customer service attendant in either in person or via a call box. We will also make upgrades to the fire alarm and other life safety systems, including surveillance cameras throughout the station. Finally, similar to Government Center, areas of safety will be constructed adjacent to each elevator. These are pressurized areas to be utilized in the event of a fire or emergency. So, these are exciting improvements to the station, but it will take time and coordination to deliver.
Let's now discuss the construction impacts. We have explored two potential approaches to construction: a traditional approach and an accelerated time. The traditional approach will keep Symphony Station open during weekday hours. Starting in 2022, 1 year of nighttime utility work will be followed by 3 years of early nights and weekends, with the project being complete in early 2026. However, if we accelerate this, 1 year of utility work will be followed by a station closure for just 1.5 years, getting the completion of Symphony in early 2025, at a savings of more than a year. Although Symphony will remain closed, E-branch trains will continue to pass through the station. So what are the benefits and drawbacks on each of these methods? With this traditional method, the station will remain open. However, the project will take longer to complete, and each day we close service, the entire branch will be impacted. With the accelerated approach, Symphony Station will remain closed. We're going to be able to reduce the construction timeline, reduce costs for busing, and bring back service much sooner. So after taking all factors into consideration, we are deciding to move forward with the accelerated approach. This means utility work will be in summer 2022 and will last for 1 year. And really the construction of the station will be in summer 2023. And this is when we will close the station for 1.5 years until the completion for it for early 2025. As with any construction, the development at Symphony Station will be disruptive to this area, okay? That's why it is priority for us to maintain access and reduce noise during construction. So to maintain access, we will use steel plates with non-slip surface, so pedestrians and vehicles will be able to move around the area. For cyclists, bike lanes on Mass Ave will be shifted inward along with vehicle lanes. For drivers, we will coordinate with the police department to help manage traffic throughout the area. Also, to reduce noise and excavation impacts, we will use drill piles instead of noisy pile-driven equipment for excavation. Vibration sensors will also be installed at the adjacent buildings to monitor vibration levels through the soil. When installing the elevators, for example, crews will work day shift to limit overnight work. And other additional measures will be taken, such as sound barriers, that will also further mitigate the noise, okay? And we will continue to coordinate also around the major events, like you have seen in the past, to minimize disruption. Once the station is under construction, we will ensure riders will be able to reach their destination by providing alternative service. So accessible shuttles will be on site and operate from Prudential, Symphony, and Northeastern stations. To better understand this, when a rider arrives at Prudential, a shuttle will be available to provide transportation to Symphony Station. The same will occur for passengers traveling from Northeastern. Also, transit ambassadors will assist with accessible shuttles as needed throughout construction. Route 39 buses will be available and enhanced along Huntington Ave between Forest Hill stations to Back Bay Station. And also, our field staff will monitor the crowding and overall ridership to adjust bus counts to meet riders' needs. Last but not least, I want to make sure that you know that as we get closer to construction, we'll be communicating any shift in bus stops locations, making sure that they're clear and marked as well. I want to assure you that once we start construction, our priority is to further minimize disruption and finish the job as quickly and safely as possible. So looking ahead, what are the next steps? We will be finishing the design, select a builder, and then start utility work next year. Once the builder is selected, we will have another public meeting way before construction to give you more detail of the construction process, the logistics, such as mobilization of crews, location of the field office, and way much more. And also, I would like to take some time to discuss about how we're going to keep you informed on our progress. You see, public engagement and transparency is very important to us. This is why we have been working closely with many stakeholders, such as Disabilities Commission, BSO, MASCO, Northeastern, Symphony Towers, RTAC, and the MBTA plaintiffs group. And we will continue to do so as the project progresses. And we will continue to host stakeholder briefings as we finalize the design and prepare to begin construction. We have also begun outreach around Symphony Station and have distributed flyers to members of the local community within a 1/4 mile radius. We also will provide weekly program updates to email subscribers and to our website. So one of the best ways to stay informed is to subscribe to this email list. And you can always follow up with questions via email to the project team at gltmbta.com at any time. So we're really eager, as you are, to start constructing this fully accessible station at Symphony. And we thank you for all your time and attention tonight. And I would like now to be able, with my team, to answer any questions that you might have. So Nancy, can you take us through how the Q&A will work?
Thank you, Angel. Just a reminder that you can use the Q&A button to submit a typed question or comment. You can press the raise hand button to share your question or comment verbally, and just wait for us to unmute you. And if you have joined by phone, I don't think I saw anyone, but you may raise your hand by pressing the star button and then 9, so star 9. And after you speak, we will lower your hand and you'll be muted to allow the team to respond and provide opportunities for others to participate. Just note also that if you think of something later or you're prompted by this presentation to say more, please send comments to us at glt@mbta.com. We try to answer as quickly as possible, and you're always welcome to follow up with us. The first thing we're going to do is recognize any elected officials who are with us this evening to see if they have any comments. And I saw Councillor, let's see, is she still here? Councillor Bach? If you're interested in asking a question, raising your hand, yes, you have your hand raised. We will unmute you.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Welcome.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. And thank you, Angel, for all the work on the Green Line transformation. There's lots of it in my district, and I appreciate you guys. So a couple of comments. I mean, one is just, I think obviously there's a crucial need for this station to be accessible. And so glad that the team is working on it. And I do think that, you know, we've seen the benefits of these accelerated schedules, even though they're tricky to deal with. And I would just say, I mean, I think you guys are on track to do this already, but just emphasizing that, especially as we get to the point where we would have those shuttles, making sure that really clear information about how to hail the shuttles is available, and especially is available to the residents of Symphony Towers in the languages they speak. So I know that's something we've worked together on before, the Russian and Chinese. You know, I think it's Russian, Chinese, and Spanish actually in that building. Definitely Russian and Chinese translation is so important. So just would emphasize we want them to know about that resource, because those are some of the folks who will be very much impacted. And I think probably working again with the BSO, as well as, you know, we're all sensitive to the cultural institutions and the hit they've taken in the pandemic and wanting to welcome their folks back. And so figuring out how to help them have as clear a wayfinding for folks who might need the accessibility of a door-to-door ride. I think that's going to be really important. So obviously my office is happy to help with that as we get to that point, and that's really important. I do want to bring up a continuing concern of mine that I know my office has pressed on, but I wanted to show up in person and comment on it. I really think that this is the opportunity to bump out the curb, to do the bike lanes there on Mass Ave at that intersection in both directions. And while I saw on the presentation the note about how this wouldn't preclude the city of Boston from doing that in the future, I think just I want to strike a couple of notes here. One is just to understand that, I mean, as thrilled as we are about the idea of acceleration, we are talking here about a 3-year timeline, and the idea that I would ask any of my constituents who do go through this to then be prepared for some other period in which the city is going to close the intersection down for construction right at the site within the project area. I think that is the kind of thing that when we do it, I get calls from constituents being like, why can you all not coordinate? So, you know, I just think that there is a pretty, given the amount of time that we're going to be impacting the intersection here, there's a pretty strong interest in getting that work done at once. I also think that the bollards themselves point to the fact that we have an unsafe condition there right now. I think the reason that you guys presumably are proposing bollards in the design is to protect those glass elevators from the fear of a car intersecting with them. But of course, for that car to get to the glass elevators, they have to have gone through the bike lane. And I think we just have a really unsafe condition there at a really busy intersection. And given the sort of scope and scale and time of this project, it feels to me like bumping out the curb and creating a sort of patch of bike lane on the northbound and southbound sides in the project area. I mean, frankly, I think to me, it accomplishes some of what you're trying to accomplish with bollards in the sense of separating the traffic from the elevators. We don't worry about a bicycle taking them out in the same way. But I really think it would be a missed opportunity. And it is the kind of thing that is what my constituents look for us as counselors to do, which is to try to make sure that we don't do all of these projects separately and kind of create a situation where there is perpetual work going on. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that it is already going to feel like that at this intersection with this project. So just really want to emphasize again what I know my office has been communicating, which is that this feels like a very small thing in terms of the scope of the project, but something that would mean a lot to kind of aligning our pedestrian, transit rider, bicyclist safety goals in the city. So I just really wanted to emphasize that on how.
Counselor, thank you so much. And I'm pleased to say that I think the project's position is to encourage the city to get up to speed to join us during this project. So I think we can definitely get back to you on that. And we're working with the city all the time. I see Matt Moran's got his hand up next, maybe. So it's timely. Let me also address the public engagement. I think you know that we are conscientious, occasionally make a mistake, but try really hard to reach out to everyone who could possibly be affected. We have a very robust weekly messaging system. We have been flyering, in the neighborhood to let people know what's happening, to give them an idea about this meeting. And we will certainly, when we're having a meeting before construction starts, do this very same thing and probably in a little bit broader area. So we do try very hard. We always welcome your suggestions and your ideas about how to do a better job, but we really believe in it. So dealing with the languages and broadening our reach is something we are happy to commit to. I think those were the key issues, but we will definitely get back to you on the bike lane and continue to work on that concept, and we'll let people know as we hopefully will make progress on that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really just don't want to miss the boat on that. So thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us tonight. I think I see, actually, Matt, why don't you jump right in here? Didn't want to put you on the spot, but welcome.
Excuse me. Thank you very much, Nancy. Really good to see you. And, I just wanted to echo, really appreciate a lot of the work that this team's doing on, making the station more accessible, making this a better connection for people to get to. And, I think we really appreciate that. Sort of follow up on the bicycle points. I think what we're looking for in this proposed project, as we look to reconstruct Symphony Station, is this sort of northbound and southbound bike connection on Mass Ave. And what's the purpose of a bike lane here, right? Why have a protected bike lane? So in Go Boston 2030, this area was identified as a major north-south bike corridor. And it's also in the city's high crash network. It's in the top 3% of streets for crashes involving people and bicycles. Currently, bike lanes are narrow and don't provide protection to cyclists using this portion of the Mass Ave corridor. Sidewalk level bike lanes will improve safety and provide a high level of comfort for cyclists while enhancing the public realm along the corridor as well. So why build these bike lanes now? Well, Green Line transformation will be reconstructing the curb ramps, the sidewalks, the station head houses. They'll also have to repave sections of Mass Ave, and there are proposed bollards along the section of Mass Ave as well. The incremental cost of moving the curb out by a few feet, adding that extra asphalt, and then the design money that would have to accompany that is frankly a rounding error in the general scope and scale of a project like this. Meanwhile, for the city to do this at some point in the future will be a major cost and will provide a lot more disruption for people who are using all forms of transportation on this corridor, including people who are trying to access this station stop. So a little bit about the interagency coordination that's taking place to date. So as part of a internal Green Line working group within the city, which includes Public Works, BTD, the Disabilities Commission, the the BPDA. We raised this issue with the Green Line Transformation team back in mid-2020. We submitted 75% comments on the 75% plans back in April of 2021 that included this need for a good high quality facility bike connection through here. Staff also met in the field with Green Line Transformation staff in April of 2021 to go over some of these elements as well. But frankly, even with all of these meetings, we haven't had any concrete reason either why these can't go in now or what the issues are. So I guess I would implore the Green Line Transformation staff to continue to just work with us and engage with us on this issue and take seriously this issue of multimodal enhancements and cyclist protection. And I think this also provides that extra level of protection for the station itself and precludes disruption in the future. So thank you very much for your time, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. And, I think, I could say again, we're going to sit down with you, but maybe another team member wants to jump in and do that as well. Desiree?
Thank you, Nancy. And Matt, thank you. We encourage all the feedback that you have provided. We know that we meet with the city of Boston on a monthly basis. We do recognize that it is in the best interest for all to work together to provide a design. We do understand that the BTD will also require significant input in this since it will affect the roadway and the current traffic patterns. Therefore, we do hope that part of this, if we will definitely reach back out to you to get the designs that you guys have and see how we can incorporate it, since it is a federally funded project that has definite and specific scopes designed in it. So we will definitely reach out to you to get the designs that you guys have been talking about and see and analyze it and see how it can be incorporated and does not provide extra scope creep to the project that has been in development for years. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Desiree, and thanks, Matt, again. And I'm going to ask, I'm going to recognize Kimberly Hutter, who's here on behalf of Senator Brownsberger. And there you go. You should be unmuted, I think, Kimberly.
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy. And yes, I am here on behalf of Senator Brownsberger. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but I'm glad to be here and to learn about all of the designs for this project. Transportation is one of our biggest priorities, and I'm glad to see the thoughtfulness on this project. So thank you all for your work on it. I know we are regularly hearing from residents in this area about accessibility at the station, so I know it is a welcomed project by many in the area. So thank you so much for your work. And I also want to express our support for improvements to the bike lane. Obviously, the senator is a large biker himself. He bikes almost everywhere, and I do myself as well. And I have personal experience in this area and know that the improvements to the bike lanes would be a huge public good. So we hope that we can be a part of whatever conversations continue on that matter, and that we can be helpful in whatever ways possible. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. We always appreciate Senator Brownsberger's participation because he's always committed to these issues. So it's great for us. Thank you very much. I'm going to, people with your hands up, I'm just going to go to the Q&A for a couple minutes because we have some questions. Marie is asking, from a previous meeting she attended, she thought that artwork was being implemented by the MBTA in the form of murals. She wants to know if that was a mistake, if there is more potential for art. She would like to hear about that. And I can't remember who mentioned art. Let's see. Do we have a team member who can address art? Was that you, Ben? Or Desiree?
Sure, I could take that, Nancy.
Thank you.
Currently, we are exploring different options for providing art within the station. We want to make sure that the art that we are hoping to incorporate, because we've been approaching different institutions, make sure it's equitable and represent the neighborhood. Therefore, we'll be looking at the art options that has been presented to the team. The MBTA, as you know, is one of the biggest public art holders in the city right now. So yes, we are looking into incorporating art.
Great, thank you, Desiree. David asks, thanks for a great presentation. He had a few questions, so maybe I'll take these in parts. Will trees be removed for the emergency exit next to Horticultural Hall? And if so, will they be replaced? And I think maybe Judd Galloway, who's our design team project manager, can answer that question. We were talking about it earlier. Judd, could you address that?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for your question about the trees. Yes, we will be removing some of those trees in around the Lower Plaza areas to accommodate the construction, but we will also be replacing a majority of the trees. Many of those trees that currently exist are planted in very close proximity, so they're not doing well. Many of their canopies are sparse, and really, if you have 3 trees close together, or a canopy maybe of one healthy tree. So we are going to be planting trees that are better suited to survive the urban environment in these tight confined spaces.
Great, thank you. Then David asks, additionally, who will be in charge of maintaining the amenities, elevators, restrooms, plantings? And I'm pretty sure that's the MBTA. So if anybody wants to correct me, but that's pretty much who does that. There are teams assigned to that. Desiree, am I correct?
Yes, Nancy. The MBTA has a very robust maintenance system for the elevator system. This is why the MBTA can proudly boast of having over 95% of functioning elevators every day. So yes, the amenities will be dealt with by the MBTA facilities maintenance department.
And this is interesting. And lastly, was reopening the pedestrian underpass between the platforms considered at any point during the project? I don't think that was a possibility from an engineering and safety point of view, but perhaps Judd, you can answer that question, or Ben?
Yes, you're correct, Nancy. From a safety and accessibility standpoint, that was not possible. That tunnel that runs under the underpass is largely used for utility infrastructure now.
Okay, great. And then one more question David had, where does the emergency exit on the inbound side come to the surface? We may have a diagram that shows that, or else Ben, you may just know the answer.
Yeah, I think it'd be best to show slide 13 here.
Okay.
So we could, I know we breezed through this earlier. So again, this shows the various points of egress for Symphony Station. The upper half of the page is the outbound, and then the lower half is the inbound. So you can see that the emergency egress stairway comes out close to Symphony Tower West. Just kind of in front, closer to the roadway for Huntington Avenue. Yep, right where the cursor is.
Great. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ben. And David says, thanks for answering his questions. You're welcome, David. Dennis has a question about the buttons. I need the buttons on the outside of the elevator flush with the elevator facade. When the buttons are indented, I cannot reach them. When in the elevator, I can barely reach the buttons. Why can't the MBTA make all the elevators either go up or down automatically once the elevator has been called? If I am in the street level and hit the button, why do I need push more buttons once inside? It would make life so much easier if it would go straight down. You know, the buttons are of great importance, but I know that one of these elevators stops at two locations, so that may not work, but we need to address this question in more detail, and I'm not sure Desiree, Ben, who would be able to answer this?
Nancy, I'll defer to Judd for more
Okay, Judd,
detailed.
okay. Judd?
Sure.
you.
Yes, the elevator buttons are flush mounted on the outside of the elevator. They are, as you can see here, this is a good slide that demonstrates the MBTA standard button. It's center lit, and it is within ADA accessibility reach requirements. We are the two-stop elevator. The question of being able to go up and down automatically without having to push a button has not come up, and so we can review that and consider that. On the south side of Huntington Ave, where we have a three-stop elevator, that probably would not be possible.
All right, thank you, Judd. I'm going back to hands, and I see Nina Garfinkel has her hand up. Nina, let me know when you can speak. You should be unmuted.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. It's terrific. It was a terrific presentation. I'm excited to get these accessible. I live in the area, a couple of blocks away, and I wanted to reiterate what Councilor Bach and a few other people had brought up about the bike lanes. From what I understand, the curbs are being moved anyway. It is such a dangerous area. People are being pulling over all the time. You know, that's why you have the bollards, as Kenzie Bach had mentioned. So I would ask that a raised, separated bike lane be incorporated to this really dangerous area. Make a huge difference. I know it's a pinch point for the whole Mass Ave, and that makes it even more important for safety.
All right, thanks, Allison. We're going to put that on the list for sure. Okay, we have Nina Garfinkel. I think you should be able to talk. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you not hear what I?
Nina just spoke a few minutes ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry,
So
I'm so sorry.
yes,
We did
so
hear
the
it, and I missed up the names because they changed
Yes.
position. So
Yes.
we should be at Allison. Allison?
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Sorry.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for the meeting. I have a few questions and I'll try to run through them quickly. Wanted to understand what has changed since the 75% design. It wasn't clear in the presentation. And if you could be specific about the number of trees that are coming out and the number that will be replanted. And also if just to also to understand the shuttle situation and where these buses will be laying over while they're waiting for passengers. It was very confusing during the track replacement work that happened in August. The shuttle the shuttles didn't really work out. And so I think that that process needs to be very, very clear about shuttles. Wanted to also share that there's going to be major development construction, both at the Midtown Hotel site coming up in 2022 and 2023, and possibly on Huntington Avenue next to the theater, the tower that has been permitted. So we're looking at a lot of construction in a very tight intersection all at the same time. So those are my quick questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think I'm going to go to Judd first on the trees and perhaps the 75% design changes. Judd?
Absolutely. Thank you for your questions, Allison. In large part, the scope didn't really change from 75% to 100%. We had the elevators as is, at, 2 2 at the outbound, 2 in the inbound, 3 stops on the inbound, 2 stops on the outbound. Emergency egress stairs. We did add an emergency generator to the project, but that was really the only major change from the 75 to 100% scope. And then to address the issue of the trees, I believe there are 11 trees that will be removed and 9 will be replaced. And then I'll let somebody else from the team talk to the other points.
Yes, and Judd, you went to a hearing with the city on the trees also, didn't you?
Correct, we did.
Yes, okay. All right, I'm gonna ask, I think, Desiree to talk about the buses laying over and the stops. I know we always try to do our best and sometimes things get in the way, but Desiree?
Thanks, Nancy. So the busing will be enhanced by the Route 39 bus shuttles. So first of all, the 39 route bus will be the bus enhancing the shuttle. However, for accessible busing, in the event that you are coming to the Symphony area and you would need an accessible van, there will be 2 vans. One that sits outside by the Prudential Center and one up in the vicinity of Northeastern area. So if you come into Prudential and you would need an accessible transfer, you would get on that van. At the moment that van starts moving, the other van located at Northeastern will now head towards the Prudential Center. There's a constant presence of a vehicle there. However, other people who are trying to access the Green Line, since the Green Line will continue to run through Symphony, it won't stop at Symphony, but you can also access, if you're trying to access the Green Line, you could either go to Northeastern or Prudential, or take the enhanced 39 buses that go through that area. So I hope this was made clear enough, and let us know if you have any further questions on busing.
And clear, Desiree, as we get closer to construction, we'll clearly share all that information every week as often as we can.
Yes, we will. And I believe when it comes to the construction, Ben, I believe you've been working with and attending some of the Midtown Hotel meetings. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, Desiree and Allison, great questions here. So yes, we've been working with both of the project teams that are working along 2 different projects along Huntington Avenue. These are classified as transit-oriented development projects because they have the possibility of impacting the tracks if they're doing subsurface work. So we've been in close coordination with both of these projects to ensure that we limit the disruption to the neighborhoods and to the riders in general. I think on a positive note, once all 3 of these projects complete, you're going to have a very revitalized district at that intersection, a little bit inbound and outbound of it as well. And looking forward to it because I actually live close by in the neighborhood as well. So
Ben, here's kind of a related question. What is the plan for rat mitigation during construction so the surrounding businesses aren't impacted? This is a problem in the city with every single project, and I know the MBTA has policies to address it, but perhaps you could just speak to it.
yeah, I can speak to it generally. So with our experience completing the track work projects, including the D branch track and signal project, as well as the previous work on the E branch, including this year as well as last year, we've been very aggressive as far as tackling the rat problem. So we have consistent inspections around the problem areas, and we check in weekly to make sure that the traps are in the proper locations. If they need more traps, we add more traps as necessary. Once we get closer to the actual construction date, we'll have a good plan to address that. But in general, we are aware of that issue, and we've been addressing it in our previous endeavors.
Great, thank you. Elena Pascarella, you have your hand up, so we are going to unmute you and welcome you.
I'm sorry, that was an accident. No, I was
Okay.
just listening. Thank you.
All right. Okay, next, Ari Offsavit. Ari, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for this presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm actually speaking on behalf of myself at the Institute for Transportation Planning and Development Policy, but as well as Livable Streets and the Boston Cyclists Union, who are unable to make it tonight. And I just want to say that this presentation really looks good, and it's great to see the Green Line transformation team doing this work. And I also want to say that I appreciate all of the ways that the GLT team disseminates information. I find the weekly emails and then the web page is really quite helpful. So thank you for that. I want to sort of echo what's been said by many, including Councillor Bach, that we really need to take the opportunity to look at the street level, the streetscape as part of this project. You know, we often say that, you know, when we're doing a project like this, we should do it once and do it right. And if we put shovels in the ground for a number of years, only to go and put shovels in the ground again, that's not doing it once. And even if we do it right, it's taking a lot more time. This is an important corridor. You know, it's one of the busiest bicycle corridors north-south in the Commonwealth, but it's also one of the busiest bus corridors. And we're looking forward to working with the city and working with the T to have this be an important bus corridor. So in addition, you know, we think that separated bike lanes here are really a first step towards to continue the separated bike lanes in the corridor, which actually the city's done a lot of work of to extend further north towards the Harvard Bridge. And then I think we should also be looking at what this will look like with buses and potentially with center running BRT. Right now, the nearest bus stop is towards St. Paul Street. It's a relatively long walk. So looking at moving, you know, would it be possible to look at the streetscape around the study area? And, you know, I don't want to have project scope, but really we should be just looking at where there's going to be disruption, where there will be disruption to the curb. And, you know, really only looking within maybe 200 feet, but where we are doing this kind of work, it really makes sense to do everything at the same time. So I know there's a lot of interest from Councillor Bach. There's a lot of interest from BTD. There's a lot of interest from neighbors and residents and advocacy groups. And I really urge you to take the time to sit down with the interested parties and reach out to them and make sure that they are a full part of this conversation, and then make sure that all of this happens together so that we, you know, when it comes out of it, is not just an improvement for all the people who use Symphony Station, myself included, but it's also an improvement for people who ride bikes, people who walk, and people who take the buses on Mass Ave as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Ari. Allison just asked another question, which is how many attendees are listening? There are 44, Allison, at the moment. Goes up and down a little bit, but that's where we are. I'm going back to hands up, and I see Tom Yardley. Tom, we will unmute you.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm assuming you can hear me.
We can.
Thank you. My name is Tom Yardley. I am at Masco. Thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. We're a nonprofit organization with a mission to drive collaborative solutions to support Longwood to be the innovative hub of healthcare research and education that we all know it to be. We represent 22 healthcare, education, and cultural members in the Longwood area. In our role as stewards of the LMA, we are certainly supportive of the MBTA's ongoing Green Line transformation project, which is improving system reliability, performance, accessibility, and comfort, both for existing and hopefully for new riders as well. And ultimately, in its fully realized form, doubling the capacity of the D and E lines with the purchase of larger cars. We've had direct experience very recently of the GLT team. People have alluded to the project earlier this year during the summer. And the team did a very amazing job really with working with the abutters to minimize project impacts and expedite construction. The work that happened over the summer south of Brigham Circle was successfully executed in 27 days on schedule and minimizing disruption to local businesses and institutions. And we certainly support the proposed Symphony stop improvements, including new accessible elevators, raised platforms, accessible bathrooms, and all the other enhancements that have been described this evening. you know, the big picture on things here is improvements to the Green Line are going to support more transit ridership, which we desperately need in our very congested city. It's going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, free up limited road space for others that have to travel in vehicles and single occupancy vehicles, including bus riders and patients and visitors receiving life-saving care. And all of this supports the citywide climate goals and mode share goals for 2030. And it's essential that we update our antiquated transit system as well. I'm not speaking on the particulars of coordinating with the bike needs on Mass Ave, but definitely, you know, a multimodal approach with these projects is always tremendously beneficial. So, you know, it's a great opportunity here, I think, to realize a fantastic project. Thanks for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. I don't actually have any other hands up or questions at the moment. So I wonder, Angel, would you like to make any comments before we wrap up, unless we get another question?
So yes, Nat,
Yes.
I want to thank everyone who came tonight. We heard your comments, we heard your thoughts, and definitely we will take this back with us as we continue to progress this project. And yes, this is really the intent of these public meetings. I want to remember that. It's just to take this feedback, right, and then be able to then progress and try to engage way much more so we can get to a unified way to how we're going to do this. So this is exciting, and I really appreciate everyone's time to be here with us tonight. And you will be hearing from us as we continue to progress this project. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Angel. Please feel free to follow up with us at glt@mbta.com. Keep an eye on our website, and you'll see this presentation and the recording. And please let your neighbors and friends know. And we'll be following up on what we've heard this evening. I don't see any other hands, so I am going to wish you all a very pleasant evening and say we'll see you next time when we're talking GLT. Take care and good night.